Welcome to Actuate Biomedicine's Biomedical Knowledge Translation Faucet. Our mission is to bridge the gap between scientific research and practical healthcare applications, ensuring that the latest advancements improve patient care, health outcomes, and public health. Biomedical knowledge translation involves turning cutting-edge biomedical research into tangible solutions for healthcare systems. At Actuate Biomedicine, we specialize in this process, ensuring that scientific breakthroughs reach those who need them most. We host our Learn to Earn sessions every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. East African Time. Each cohort participates in an 8-week program designed to guide learners through the 7 stages of biomedical knowledge translation. The 7 stages include exploration, where we identify new research and innovations; evaluation, assessing the potential impact and feasibility; planning, developing strategies for implementation; development, creating practical applications and solutions; implementation, integrating these solutions into healthcare settings; another round of evaluation, monitoring and assessing effectiveness; and finally, distribution, ensuring wide access to the final products. Our learners gain in-depth knowledge and practical skills, empowering them to translate biomedical research into real-world applications. Through our program, we aim to foster a new generation of experts who will drive advancements in healthcare. Join us at Actuate Biomedicine's Biomedical Knowledge Translation Faucet. Together, we can make a significant impact on healthcare and public health. Learn, earn, and contribute to a healthier future. Be a part of the change. Transform knowledge into action with Actuate Biomedicine. Welcome to Actuate Biomedicine's Biomedical Knowledge Translation Faucet. Our mission is to bridge the gap between scientific research and practical healthcare applications, ensuring that the latest advancements improve patient care, health outcomes, and public health. Biomedical knowledge translation involves turning cutting-edge biomedical research into tangible solutions for healthcare systems. At Actuate Biomedicine, we specialize in this process, ensuring that scientific breakthroughs reach those who need them most. We host our Learn to Earn sessions every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. East African Time. Each cohort participates in an 8-week program designed to guide learners through the 7 stages of biomedical knowledge translation. The 7 stages include exploration, where we identify new research and innovations; evaluation, assessing the potential impact and feasibility; planning, developing strategies for implementation; development, creating practical applications and solutions; implementation, integrating these solutions into healthcare settings; another round of evaluation, monitoring and assessing effectiveness; and finally, distribution, ensuring wide access to the final products. Our learners gain in-depth knowledge and practical skills, empowering them to translate biomedical research into real-world applications. Through our program, we aim to foster a new generation of experts who will drive advancements in healthcare. Join us at Actuate Biomedicine's Biomedical Knowledge Translation Faucet. Together, we can make a significant impact on healthcare and public health. Learn, earn, and contribute to a healthier future. Be a part of the change. Transform knowledge into action with Actuate Biomedicine. Welcome to Actuate Biomedicine's Biomedical Knowledge Translation Faucet. Our mission is to bridge the gap between scientific research and practical healthcare applications, ensuring that the latest advancements improve patient care, health outcomes, and public health. Biomedical knowledge translation involves turning cutting-edge biomedical research into tangible solutions for healthcare systems. At Actuate Biomedicine, we specialize in this process, ensuring that scientific breakthroughs reach those who need them most. We host our Learn to Earn sessions every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. East African Time. Each cohort participates in an 8-week program designed to guide learners through the 7 stages of biomedical knowledge translation. The 7 stages include exploration, where we identify new research and innovations; evaluation, assessing the potential impact and feasibility; planning, developing strategies for implementation; development, creating practical applications and solutions; implementation, integrating these solutions into healthcare settings; another round of evaluation, monitoring and assessing effectiveness; and finally, distribution, ensuring wide access to the final products. Our learners gain in-depth knowledge and practical skills, empowering them to translate biomedical research into real-world applications. Through our program, we aim to foster a new generation of experts who will drive advancements in healthcare. Join us at Actuate Biomedicine's Biomedical Knowledge Translation Faucet. Together, we can make a significant impact on healthcare and public health. Learn, earn, and contribute to a healthier future. Be a part of the change. Transform knowledge into action with Actuate Biomedicine. Welcome to Actuate Biomedicine's Biomedical Knowledge Translation Faucet. Our mission is to bridge the gap between scientific research and practical healthcare applications, ensuring that the latest advancements improve patient care, health outcomes, and public health. Biomedical knowledge translation involves turning cutting-edge biomedical research into tangible solutions for healthcare systems. At Actuate Biomedicine, we specialize in this process, ensuring that scientific breakthroughs reach those who need them most. We host our Learn to Earn sessions every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. East African Time. Each cohort participates in an 8-week program designed to guide learners through the 7 stages of biomedical knowledge translation. The 7 stages include exploration, where we identify new research and innovations; evaluation, assessing the potential impact and feasibility; planning, developing strategies for implementation;
Hello everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can see Doc has not yet joined. I don't know whether we can start.
Yeah, you can begin as you wait for him.
Okay, good evening everyone. I hope we are staying safe and I hope also we are fine. So today we are going to be doing the session 3, that is cohort 2. And our meeting agenda is as follows. I will be presiding over the meeting and we're going to be exploring the quadratic funding in harvesting knowledge stage, that is externalization of biomedical knowledge translation. Moremi Bliza is going to be taking us through, that is our topic master. Then Doc will be giving additional comments. Then from there, we're going to have a question and answer session. Then from there, I can conclude the meeting for us to join the African without further ado. I think I can come. Moremi, you're welcome.
Oh, thank you. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, how have you been? I hope you've been well. I also have been well. Just here, 1, 2, and 3, doing some the current situation.
You're muted, Moremi.
So, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, continue.
Okay, today I'm going to take you through a very interesting topic. exploring quadratic funding in the harvesting knowledge stage of biomedical knowledge translation. Okay, so introduction. Biomedical knowledge translation is a critical process that bridges the gap between scientific research and practical health applications. This process ensures that innovation and discoveries in biomedical research are effectively implemented in clinical settings, ultimately improving patient care and public health outcomes. The harvesting knowledge stage of biomedical knowledge translation involves gathering, synthesizing, and assessing scientific evidence to form a robust knowledge base. Quadratic funding, a novel and democratic approach to funding public goods, can play a transformative role in this stage. I'm sorry, I'm in a public place, so there are some noises. So I'm trying as much as possible to make sure that you can hear me. So I will take you to the next step of understanding quadratic funding. So quadratic funding is a decentralized funding mechanism designed to allocate resources more equitable based on community preferences. Unlike traditional funding models where a few large donors can disappropriately influence outcomes, quadratic funding ensures that contribution from a broader base of small donors have a significant impact. This model amplifies the voices of the many rather than the few, making it particularly suitable for funding initiatives with widespread public interest. So, unlike Kenya, where funds come from one place, and then we have cases of corruption and money squandering, quadratic funding is a different form of funding where we can see different money or monies being given to different people without cases of corruption. So I go to the next stage, the harvesting knowledge stage. In the context of biomedical knowledge translation, the harvesting knowledge stage involves several key activities. So therefore, number one is systematic reviews and meta-analysis. Number two, evidence synthesis. Number three, expert consultations. Number four, data sharing and collaboration. So I'll start with systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So aggregating and analyzing data from multiple studies to prove comprehensive insights. That is systematic reviews and meta-analysis. Number two, evidence synthesis. This is summarizing research findings to identify patterns, gaps, and emerging trends. Number three, we have expert consultations, where it involves engaging with experts to validate findings and prove additional perspectives. Number four, we have data sharing and collaboration. This involves facilitating open access to data and fostering collaboration among researchers. So you may be asking, which is the role of quadratic funding? Quadratic funding can enhance the harvesting knowledge stage in several ways. I will give about four. So number one, we have democratizing research priorities. Number two, we have encouraging collaboration. Number three, we have increasing transparency and accountability. Number four, we have fostering innovation. So I'll take you through number one, democratizing research priorities. So by this, we leverage quadratic funding, a diverse group of stakeholders, including researchers, practitioners, and the public, can influence which knowledge synthesis projects receive the funds. This democratization ensures that the projects can align with the needs and interests of a broader community. Number two, we have encouraging collaboration. So in this, quadratic funding can incentivize collaboration by allocating resources to projects and demonstrate broad support. This can lead to more comprehensive and multidisciplinary approaches to knowledge synthesis, integrating insights from various fields. Number 3, we have increasing transparency and accountability. The decentralized nature of quadratic funding promotes transparency in the funding process. Funding decisions are made based on clear criteria and the aggregated preferences of many contributors, reducing the risk of biasness and enhancing accountability. Number 4, we have fostering innovation. By empowering a wider array of voices to contribute to funding decisions, quadratic funding can support innovative approaches to knowledge synthesis that might be overlooked in traditional funding models. This can lead to the identification of novel research questions and methodologies. So, how do we implement quadratic funding in biomedical knowledge translation? To implement quadratic funding in the harvesting knowledge stage, several steps are necessary. So, number 1, establishing a funding platform. A digital platform is required to facilitate the quadratic funding process. This platform should allow stakeholders to contribute funds, propose projects, and vote on funding allocations. Number 2, we have engaging stakeholders. Broad engagement is crucial to ensure diverse participation. Researchers, healthcare professionals, patients, and the general public should be encouraged to participate in the funding process. Number 3, we have ensuring equitable access. Measures should be taken to ensure that all stakeholders, regardless of their financial contribution, can influence funding decision. This includes providing educational resources to help participants understand the quadratic funding model. Number 4, we have monitoring and evaluation. Ongoing monitoring and evaluation are essential to assess the impact of quadratic funding on the harvesting knowledge stage. Metrics should include the diversity of funded projects, the level of stakeholder engagement, and the quality and utility of synthesized knowledge. So, that is why we also, as the Actuate Biomed, we also have this summit on December, where we shall be implementing quadratic funding in biomedical knowledge translation, where everybody, stakeholders, financial contributors, and also researchers will meet and share ideas and help each other to grow. Then in conclusion, quadratic funding represents a promising approach to democratize and enhance the harvesting knowledge stage of biomedical knowledge translation. By amplifying the voices of diverse range of stakeholders and promoting collaboration, transparency, and innovation, quadratic funding can help ensure that biomedical knowledge synthesis aligns with the needs and interests of the broader community. As the field of biomedical research continues to evolve, integrating novel funding mechanisms like quadratic funding can play a crucial role in advancing public health and improving healthcare outcomes. Thank you. That was my time. I'm Muremi. I hand over to Grace to continue with the rest.
Thank you so much, Remy, for that insightful presentation. That was a nice presentation. I think I can see Doc. Hello, Doc.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so Doc, yeah, we can hear you. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Something went wrong in the meeting. When I was trying to enter the meeting, it was telling me the meeting is already in progress. Then it would tell me, stop that meeting so you can join this one. Can you believe it? I don't know why that was happening. Frida, do you have any idea? Zoom was telling me to stop this meeting so I can actually start another one.
Or maybe you got a different link. It does that when you try to join a different link with a different link while we are still in this meeting.
I don't know, different link. I was trying the link that's posted in the biomedicine on WhatsApp group. All right. Well, thank you. Anyway, I got here eventually 2 minutes after the fact. I struggled for about 10 minutes. Eventually, I actually went to, I went through the calendar, not the calendar, no, the link on the Actuate Nation itself. So the link in Actuate Biomedicine seems to be different from the Actuate Nation, from the link in Actuate Nation.
No, okay. The link, I've realized that the link I shared in the morning was the link for women in DeFi.
Okay. Oh, we're not in the morning. This one that you have, I was trying about 10 minutes ago. Anyway, I'm here now. I just don't know what's up with Zoom. I think Zoom sometimes drinks some beer before going to work, so you can throw us off balance. Okay. Knowledge harvesting. You know, knowledge harvesting is what we call exteriorization of knowledge, like bringing all that knowledge into the ocean. If knowledge is fish, bringing the knowledge out of the ocean or out of Lake Victoria and to come and so to harvest it. So when you're harvesting something, you put that thing in 3 stages so that you can put it in the market. One stage is to sort what you have harvested. The next thing is to grade. And then when you grade it, you package it in nice little packets. Well, so that you can send them to the factory. So this knowledge, by the way, has not reached the factory, okay? Where it's gonna be processed to become a product. On the other hand, it is pure knowledge, nothing else. So remember, we were in that deep ocean, which is known as the tacit dimension, where we dived last week through exploration. So that's where you dive in that state where we call the new state of consciousness, where your spirit moves and then you dive deep into an ocean to become an explorer. Now you are ready to bring what you have found in that ocean of knowledge out to the surface so that you can actually sort that knowledge out. Now imagine the situation, the way you dive deep into knowledge, like you have entered college, say university or any college. In that college, it's like a deep ocean where you're trying to fish to identify the fish you want to capture. So you have a net of knowledge. That net of knowledge is all the textbooks they give you to read. So you're reading textbooks, and eventually, after you have read so many textbooks, you're now able to read academic journals, manuscripts. So you can read academic journals like you get here in Boston. We have the New England Journal of Medicine. So you are reading all that, and you see that's a lot of different types of fish, different sizes. But how do you take that out so that you can now create an idea that you want to pursue? You want to specialize in one thing. That requires for you to now have a new type of consciousness, the consciousness of a harvester. The harvester is somebody who is looking for the best quality of products that you can take to market later. So if you're harvesting coffee, you know how it goes. You bring the coffee out of the coffee farm. You've been picking coffee all morning. Then in the afternoon, you bring the coffee home and you start sorting it out so that you can put it in different piles, which you then take to the coffee factory. And then the coffee factory does mill the coffee. After that, the coffee is graded. And I explained to you before the procedure for grading coffee, which is just a set of trays with different sizes of holes. The ones with the largest hole stays at let's stay at the top. The one the largest hole stays at the top. At the bottom, at the top so that it's the largest hole is at the bottom, the tiniest hole is at the bottom. And so whatever remains at the top is called grade A because the big round bin, it's as simple as that. So knowledge is the same. There are two procedures for harvesting knowledge. And these two procedures are known as research, basically. That's what you call research. Research, one procedure of harvesting knowledge is to assume that you do not know what is happening. You're going to discover the knowledge that you bring out is in discovery module. So you have not grasped what that knowledge is all about. So you go there with an open mind, totally open mind. And then you're going to try and identify the phenomenon. So the phenomenon that is actually trying to express itself. For example, if you have read so many books, then you just close your eyes and say, what is this? What are all these books telling? Depending on the phenomenon you have observed. For instance, you have read a lot of books about certain conditions. So that's already inside your head. But then you also observing people who could be patients or just ordinary people behaving in a certain way or presenting certain type of conditions. And then you're trying to interrogate your own head, asking, with what I'm observing, does it relate to what I read? See? So it is that after reading so many books, you start getting some ideas about what is happening out there in the community. What is happening to people, what is going on with people, from the health perspective, the health of the person. So you can make observations on people, individuals when they're small babies, teenagers, mothers, young women. So you're making observations. And this observation you're making, you cannot make any observation if your head is empty, let's say that. So you ought to have certain knowledge from which you're operating. And that is why you are deep in that place of exploration. After you have explored, you have a fund of knowledge from what you have read in your textbooks and what you've read in your medical journals. But then even what you have read in textbook and what you read in the medical journals does not really relate to what you're observing there in the community. How do you translate that? Of course, you translate that by asking yourself, what am I looking at? So you cannot know what you're looking at until you start writing it down. Answering the what question is what is known as phenomenology. That's a qualitative approach because you're coming in an open mind and you're observing a lot of people, particularly say in medicine, if you're in clinical med or if you're in healthcare, when you come to hospital and you see, say, mothers are coming, bringing babies with certain condition, you cannot know what is that condition until you have spent time looking at that baby. And then you kind of form an idea in your head. That idea you're forming in your head is called phenomenology. It's a phenomena observation. Now, if you see similar phenomena happening again and again and again, you now say there is an emergence of a certain type of illnesses. Or maybe this phenomena has actually never been described before. You see, you have read so many books. This is why I'm saying that before you come to this exteriorization, you cannot come with an empty head. You ought to have studied well, passed your exams, and then you're coming with that fund of knowledge to help you make observations. And there are certain observations that you're going to be making, and these observations have not been made by anybody else. Because we are also different. And then say if certain observations were made in Boston, it doesn't mean that they apply to people in Nyeri. You see that? So for example, there's somebody a certain doctor working in Nyeri General Hospital, provincially called Nyeri PGH. He found that women in Nyeri have got very large legs. Yeah, and they come in and they come from time in the clinic. They come and they have large legs, which was similar to elephantiasis. And I was wondering what is going on. So, because elephantiasis is a disease caused by what, filaria worm, is a parasitic disease, but that parasite does not exist in that part of Mount Kenya. And then he's wondering what is causing elephantiasis. Elephantiasis is caused by lymphatic flow shutdown in the legs. And eventually, he found, after observing so many women with enlarged legs, and I don't know why it was affecting women, maybe it was also affecting men, but he says this problem is prevalent among women. And then they set out now to interrogate that question. They're trying to find out, because he already knows about elephantiasis, but not in a place like Nyeri. Mm-hmm. Then he wrote an article about it, he called it Nyeri leg. So, of course, now that's when that's a phenomenon. So you can observe phenomena. What am I looking at? So you see a phenomena of enlargement of the legs among women of Nyeri, and then you're wondering, what am I seeing? What is this telling me? What's this phenomenon telling me? So eventually, he said he concluded after doing so many tests that there's certain, maybe he worked with some people, and he said that there's certain metals on Nyeri soil that if you're walking on barefoot for too long, those metals can penetrate your skin and the foot, your skin, the skin of the foot, and then they will enter into a lymphatic system and block the lymphatic flow. So instead of now this becoming elephantiasis due to a parasitic disease, becomes elephantiasis due to what? Due to metal occlusion of the lymphatic system. You see that? So what I'm saying that illustrates to you that there are certain observations you will make. You already have a fund of knowledge. Like he already knew what elephantiasis looks like. He knew the pathophysiology of the disease. But the actual cause, which is the etiology, that phenomena, was totally different because he was observing it in a different place from the usual distribution, or where that disease has been described before. So you see that you will discover new conditions that, and of course, new phenomena, let's call them new phenomena, during that harvesting process. And harvesting, you cannot harvest something you have not already captured. So you already had a fund of knowledge. You see, so that's called phenomenology. Other phenomena that has been observed is people living in places of hardship. They get high blood sugar, including diabetes. They develop diabetes. You know, diabetes was associated with obesity, like type 2 diabetes. And then when you work place like northeastern Kenya, and you find people coming with diabetes, and you're wondering what is causing this diabetes. So, and diabetes that's starting very, very young. Initially, they thought it was type 2 diabetes, but it doesn't have the same characteristics as type 2 diabetes, the one written in textbooks from the population studied in Europe and United States. So the type 2 diabetes of those people was different. That's what we call it type 3 diabetes of hardship. I don't know. So you see, there are phenomena that even today, phenomena that have not been described. And that is what is the big opportunity for all of you in health sciences, in medicine, and it's this translation. So first of all, in the harvesting stage, that you want to look in the community with your fund of knowledge already, then you wonder, what am I observing? Because you can make observations and make new clinical phenomena manifesting that are totally different from what we already know. And we see it means that if you can identify new clinical manifestations of diseases, you can now go back and identify the etiology, because the cause of that diabetes is not the same as type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. It has got a different etiological mechanism. It's a different cause process. And so it means also it has a different cause process. It has a different treatment process. And then it has a different prognosis. That means the follow-up is going to be different. So you see, that's the power. That's where power comes in. So to be in this stage of exteriorization, you have to be highly attentive, extremely observant. Okay, so that is answering the what question. It's called phenomenology. Now, phenomenology is taught in social sciences very much, but in medicine, people don't talk about it. I have no clue why. Although they observe phenomena all the time, makes observation phenomenology, but they don't say this is a phenomenological observation, which is what it is. But I think, and that's qualitative approach to research, because you're not even having hypothesis to test. You're not testing hypothesis. There is no, you're not trying to prove a cause and effect. You're just observing a phenomenon. See, this is in a qualitative approach, which is open-minded. Open-minded does not mean empty-headed. All right, there's some people who confuse those two. You say come with an open mind doesn't mean come with an empty head. It means you go to the library and read the books so that you can be loaded in your head. But then you come with an open mind that you're not jumping to conclusions. For example, those ladies who had elephantiasis in Nyeri, if somebody with a closed-mindedness would have been said, okay, over there they have filariasis, they have parasites that you see Nyeri people have got parasites. You see, that's a close-mindedness. And of course, that is totally foolish. You don't want that close-mindedness. And yet you don't want an empty-headedness. So you want open mind with a full a head that has got a high, high fund of knowledge. You see that your head, your brain is like a bank account of knowledge. It's a huge fund of knowledge. So of course, then we're going to talk about quadratic funding, because that, for you to put all that knowledge in your head, you need to have money. It's not just having a fund of knowledge. You need to have a fund of actual tokens and maybe liquid currency, liquid tokens. So number two, in the qualitative approach with an open-headed, open qualitative approach, is when you answer the why question. For example, after observing that phenomena of enlarged legs among the women of Nyeri, then the inquisitive physician had to ask, why are these legs getting enlarged? Why do women get enlarged legs over there? Why are we getting elephantiasis, let's say? You ask the why question. So we're asking the why question. That's called a grounded, it's an ethnographic question. You know that the things that people do there. For example, the why questions help him to understand that when women are walking barefoot and they are walking on certain places that have got this metallic soil, they can get this metal in the soil, metal deposit in the soil. They can get penetration of that metal deposit if they are barefoot. So, but that's the method. Why are they walking barefoot? Because they don't have shoes. Yeah, and you could now, by answering what questions, similar to that, you could also manage to create interventions or treatment, because the why questions, which are known as ethnographic questions. Ethnographics about how people behave and how people create their own meaning. And of course, what I was talking about, diabetes, type 3 diabetes, it occurs in people who are nomadic, because I don't know, this is a quite question, why they would get type 3 diabetes, because of what? Because of their dietary process. Maybe they can be having proteins, but they have no calories because they eat meat and milk. But and eventually, the pancreas begins to try conserve any calories that comes, and then it overworks, and eventually it fails. You get pancreatic failure. type 3. So you can see, if you don't understand ethnography or the why question, you won't know how to give the interventions. Yeah, so because you could prevent the emergence of such type 3 diabetes by adding a little bit of carbohydrates in the diet as the children are growing, so that the pancreas is not over labored to try and fight sugar, to try to fight sugar in meat or something like that. Okay, so then that question that you ask the qualitative is called the how question. Now that we have found this, how do we deal with it? And so when you find this, then you ask, how do we deal with this problem? How can we create treatments, or talk about treatment plan? How are we going to go about it? So you come up with a theoretical model, which is now called a treatment plan. It's a plan of an implementation plan. Implementation plan is the theoretical model for intervention. Okay? And you see, this applies to all types of knowledge, whether you're doing health services, whether you're doing clinical services, whether you're doing pharmaceutical services, these three processes, or even whether you're doing social sciences. Those three questions are ubiquitous, and they're the only questions that there are in this world. What, why, and how? Okay? And that is what is called qualitative. And qualitative, now, you see, you can now have with qualitative approaches, you can have case studies, and of course you can have you following a case by case basis, and then you have expert opinions. You have other experts coming to tell you, to make observations so you can compare notes, and you have data sharing. Just like what Isaac told us, Isaac Karemi. Thank you so much. And see, for you as the scientists, or maybe as the researcher or somebody in charge here who is in the harvesting process, you are known as a PI, or the principal investigator. You are like a detective. All right. By the way, for those people who do detective science, criminology, this is the same process. So it applies even in criminology, because if you are to catch a criminal, you have to understand what is he about, why is he doing it, and how does he do it, so that you can come up with a plan of capturing the criminal. See, it's the same work as detective. So this process cuts across all types of knowledge. Okay, now after that, after you have done that, first of all, the biggest problem we have today is not knowing how to do those things. The biggest problem is how do you find money to, for example, if you're say a clinical, you're a doctor there in Kapsabet, or say, or in Wajir, you've got patients who are coming and they have a phenomenon to observing. You need to have a lot of, you need to have access to information. You have read the books, of course. You need to have access to a library. Now there's an online library. You can go to Google and find information. And you need to have the reason to call these people to come back and see. So you have to have a system for getting them, but to make your observation. Or maybe you're a clinical provider, but you cannot go and work in Wajir because there's no job there for you. But you come from there, but there's something you observed in that community. But where do you get the money? Where do you get the money? Are you going to get them from the CDF? What CDF? County Development Fund? Is that what's called CDF? Or are we going to get it from the national government? No, they won't give you money to do this work. Yes, because this work is totally unfunded. There's no money. Even say you're in college, you're affiliated to a university, because this work is highly qualitative. It's a qualitative approach to research, way to identify phenomena, and there is no funding at all. It's like a desert of funding. It's a desert without rain. There's no rain, and so that's why we're talking about quadratic funding. Now, because these are problems that you're observing in a certain community, you see, these problems lend themselves to quadratic funding, where you're talking about people fundraising, even through the local church, the local religious group there, a faith-based organization where people meet together. They know, they talk about these things all the time. They say, oh, so and so have gotten now a big lens what's going, or so and so is not is having a sugar disease. You see, something like that. But you know, people in the villages, the community, they actually know the problems that are affecting through their own observation. And those things are not described in the medical textbook because medical textbooks were not written by the knowledge collected there. The medical textbook were written by knowledge collected in Boston. Okay, so the people in that community, the disease that are affecting them is not documented. But then to document those phenomena that are occurring among people, you need money. It's not free. You cannot raise that money by asking for people to do R&D in church. Or let us get together and raise money to go and do research to find out what is causing swelling of legs of our people. They won't give you the money. First of all, they won't even understand. You see? But quadratic funding makes this possible because you already have a good fund of knowledge and you have made observation in your community. You can now write a proposal, a nice proposal. Even you can ask ChatGPT to help you develop that proposal. So the proposal itself describes the condition, and then you tell people, we have this condition going on in this village, and we'd like to raise money. And then, of course, you have to tell the people in the local village that would like to raise so much money, but if each one of you contributed 30 shillings each, they're going to ask for money from large donors so they can give a matching grant to your 30 shillings. And the greater is, what Isaac has told us, the greater the number of contributors, the more the funding you will get to do your project. So, unlike the traditional funding for research, which required you to apply for funding, apply for grant funding through, the Ford Foundation that our president has been maligning out there, forgetting the president. So people like Ford, Ford manufactured vehicles. He sells a lot of cars. It's like Toyota. So Ford has a lot of money. So he gives a lot of that money in grants. But you have to write a grant. So those grants are very competitive. It's very, very hard to get grants here. And because for a grant for a disease in your village, cannot get that. But quadratic funding, you can write the grant, and then the local people will start contributing and then you can have even other people, local people who are much wealthier, they have got deep pockets, and maybe those tycoons, the country can participate in funding those projects. So that's the way you can do this. This exteriorization is really hard to finance. And because it is hard to finance, because the type of data that you're collecting is very new, you are describing new phenomena, becomes very, very, very difficult to fund. And see, say some places like United States, those things are funded through university training programs. And these universities receive money directly from the federal government of the United States. So, and it's integrated in the training school, the School of Medicine. So young people, students writing their thesis and proposals, then eventually they get funded. And of course, usually the postgraduate students, they receive about $5,000 every year for their own research and to attend conferences. But there's nothing like that in our country. So we have to make the money. Let's say we have to make the money, because Kenya government will not do that. Okay, so that is one side of exteriorization or harvesting. And that one side has got three things, answers three questions: what, why, and how. But then when you answer those questions, you still have very, very raw data that is not tested. To test the data, you come to the second type of question. a question for verification. To verify, for example, these guys in Nyeri, well, physician in Nyeri see that there is a metal in the soil that is penetrating to the lymphatic system that is blocking the lymphatic flow. And so people are getting swelling of the legs. Is that true? Who knows that? We still don't know. I'm not sure anyone ever actually tested that. Testing means to test a hypothesis. The hypothesis, you say that if somebody is in a certain location and walks barefoot, you get swelling of the legs. So you're saying to test that, you have to find out, you have to do now a quantitative test. Quantitative test of two kinds. The one kind is an experiment. You have to perform an experiment. Okay, that means that you would subject in an experiment. You have two groups, and these groups are selected randomly. This means that you would capture a whole bunch of people, and then from somewhere, and then you subject those people. You have to have an intervention. You give one group, you send them over there. First of all, you have to bring people who have never been to Nyeri. Maybe they're in Scandinavian countries. Then you send them to Nyeri and make them walk barefoot for a whole maybe a number of years, and then you find out whether they're going to develop that elephantiasis. Okay, and then you have another one that is in another place. But you see, that is not possible to do. What I'm trying to explain is that doing an experiment like that, first of all, is unethical. You cannot do that. So in clinical medicine, there are certain things that are not amenable. They are not open to an experiment because it is inhuman to come and try and expose somebody to a disease so that you can just confirm your hypothesis. So in testing of hypothesis, you have something called hypothesis of no difference. It's called null hypothesis. Hypothesis of no difference, it says, it doesn't matter whether you walk barefoot or not in Nyeri. It doesn't matter whether you walk barefoot. So walking with shoes, walking barefoot will not give you what? Elephantiasis. You see? That is hypothesis of no difference, which is called null hypothesis. So you can only prove a null hypothesis through an experiment. Because it is not possible to do an experiment in many situations in medicine because you cannot give an intervention knowingly, then you have another design that is called non-experimental design. Non-experimental design has got three types of things you can do, which is one of the things is what Kalemi spoke about. He called systematic review. Systematic review is when you do your literature review, and then you're doing literature. Systematic review is you're looking at cases like that have ever been described by other people who have been in the area, they have observed the same thing. So you can read maybe the East African Journal of Medicine and find where there are such cases that have been described. So, but you have to do it systematically. You have to look from the oldest case ever described of elephantiasis among in people of Nyeri. So it would be you're studying systematic review of maybe since there was East African Journal of Medicine, or even before there was East African Journal of Medicine, you are reading, literature written by the colonists like Thompson. Remember Thompson, Thompson Gazelle of Thompson's Falls? Those explorers, they wrote stuff in their anthropologic, studies. So you want to read that and say, this thing has been reported, and then you can come and do a systematic review. But the systematic review, it's literature review basically. But then you can use quantitative methods to do data analysis for systematic review. And some people call it meta-analysis, that you're looking at data presented from so many different centers or so many different places, publications, and then you analyze them. that is non-experimental at its own basis. Systematic review is glorified quantitative literature review. Number two, if you have done systematic review, you can do another non-experimental study, which is known as correlation analysis. Find out what is there any relationship? That's the question you're asking. Is there any relationship is there any relationship between living in Nyeri, in those Nyeri hills, and having elephantiasis? So you're trying to say because you are in Nyeri, there's a relationship, there's a correlation. And you see, you calculate that using the correlation coefficient. You say the correlation coefficient, a correlation coefficient, which is written as R is equals to 1 means there's a strong relationship. And if there's no relationship, then R is equals to 0. So also you can test hypothesis on that, but that is non-experimental. See that? So that is the correlation. Of course, even there is sometimes you do not know whether it's even correlation. You cannot even test, but you can do a regression analysis, regressions, which also try to test relation, but the regression is you find the slope of relationship, which is called test for association. In regressions, you test whether there's any association between being living in Nyeri and having elephantiasis of the legs. See, that sounds. You see, those are very, very weak models. But then, because you cannot subject people to experiments like that, they are what are available. So to do that, you need to have a lot of data. That's when you're talking about harvesting, you ought to have gone through a very huge quantity of data, because to make a conclusion about whether being living in Nyeri is associated with fatness of the legs, it is really, you cannot say there is the true cause-effect relationship. Now, you can only find a cause-effect relationship, what's called causality. You can only find causality by experiment. This is what I want to tell you what's an experiment. An experiment has got several things that must be true in order for you to say it's an experiment. So it's what's called experimental design. An experiment is that, first of all, you as an investigator, you do not know, there's going to be intervention. Say like in a situation, subjecting people to walk in there, which is difficult. Let's do another example because that's not even practical. Let's talk about an experiment where you are giving an intervention, giving somebody an injection, or maybe I think something simpler. For a lot of young people, they drink beer. An experiment is whether you can give people a liquid without alcohol and another liquid with alcohol. Okay, it's an experiment. You want to find out whether alcoholic behavior, that behavior of drunkenness, is due to getting high on alcohol. You're testing that whether alcohol has any effect, or getting drunk is just a placebo effect. Placebo effect is when somebody is acting drunk, and he's like, and he was just drinking liquid water. Okay, yeah. So how would you do such an experiment? And so this is not to encourage you to go drinking and doing experiment with drinking. Okay, it's just an experiment I'm explaining to you, but applies to all other type of interventions you want to do. You can do it for tea, coffee, so you can actually know the effects, whether it has effect. Remember, experiments are for testing the effect, causality, cause effect. So here you are saying that in your null hypothesis, you'll be saying that the drunken behavior is not due to alcohol. See? So you say alcohol has no effect on drunkenness. All right? And say I can prove it. How can you prove it? So now, if you want to prove that, you're going to ask other people. So to bring you a whole set of beers. I mean, a huge crowd of Gen Zs. Let's say you get 100 Gen Zs, and then you ask your co-investigator. It's not yourself, to separate, to divide those people in two groups. One group is going to be called Group A, and one group is going to be called Group B. So Group A, one of the groups, you're not going to be told which one is going to receive the intervention. That means a can of liquid with alcohol inside it, which is going to be Tusker. Okay. Then the other one is going to receive a can of liquid, which is just probably what can you give that? Carbonated water. So it's a fizzling water. You know, we could call soda water. It has no alcohol in it. So, and of course, you have to code each. You have the cans are coded 1, 2, 3. And so those numbers, they are assigned numbers. So you cannot know. They cannot know. The people who are receiving the drinks cannot know which drink is laced with alcohol and which drink is just pure soda water. Okay, so that's what you do. So you have two groups. One has got so two groups, and then those people, the people, you're not going to separate them. They're going to be in the same room. They're having a party. Okay, but then you know who you have given, not yourself, but your person, people administrating for you, your co-investigator will just mix up those things and then label them, and they all look the same. They are the same color of can. Maybe they could all be Tusker cans, all of them, but 50% of them will have nothing. They are soda water, and 50% of them will be having Tusker Premium. Okay. So, and they start drinking, and then they can drink. Everybody can be given about 4 cans, so they can achieve the effect you're looking for. And then after that, they've been drinking the party. Then you start observing the behavior. So you have your questionnaire, and you're checking your questionnaire. You know, you had a questionnaire to check their behavior. So you're analyzing the behavior of those people. And then later on, yourself, you're just doing the analysis of the behavior of the people. So what it means that you are blind to the intervention that was given to those people. Okay? You do not know who has gotten what intervention, and you're also blind to you're also blind to which can. You are blind to what can contain what intervention. That is called double blind. Mm-hmm. And the people who are receiving the intervention also do not know which one has got alcohol and which one does not have alcohol. You see, double blind. Double blind. Why is it double blind? It's because it's blind, double blind, because neither the people who are drinking know what they're drinking, and neither do you know what the people are drinking. You are just observing, so that you do not find a person and say, wow, this one is looking so high because he took 4 cans of beer. But then maybe that person looking so high did not take any beer, but you do not know. So it's only from there, doing that, you can now document the drunkenness of the people, and then later on come and analyze, and you find that, in fact, people who took beer and people who took no beer were all acting the same way. So it means that acting drunk really in a party, it's not due to the alcohol itself. You can make a conclusion like that, not saying. Or you can find that actually beer makes people behave in certain ways that are not desirable. Yes, and that's, you can make a conclusion. It's only such a situation that you can actually have a cause, you can actually make a conclusion that the alcohol itself is the one that caused people to behave like that. Or the alcohol itself did not have much difference. People drinking alcohol did not have much difference from the people who were not drinking alcohol. And how do you test that? You see, that's a 2x2 table, because you have 2 groups you're testing. So 2x2 table, you have something called chi-square. And then the chi-square tells you the difference between this kind of binary. The chi-square tells you the difference between this group and that group. and it can tell you whether the two groups are differences. So the differences you're calculating there is the mean or the distribution of drunkenness in your observations. So you can say the people who receive this type of this set of numbers have behaved in a certain way, and then you can actually calculate from there whether alcohol is producing drunkenness. The mean of the people who took the alcoholic drinks is different from the mean of the people who just took soda water. So that helps you to find the mean of the distribution of drunkenness. See that? Mean of distribution of drunkenness. But what that requires an experiment is that you have to have a sufficient sample. So if you just do that among 3 or 4 people, the sample is yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have to go. So yeah, that's it.
Sorry
So
for
you have to conclude, but I forgot about the women defined. But basically, that is what it's all about. So we have talked about the non-experiment, we have talked about qualitative, quantitative, and we have talked about the quantitative. That's it. I think we covered everything.
yeah. Thank you so much, Doc. I think we forgot about the next session that is going to start in 1 minute's time. So thank you so much for everyone who has joined the session for today. I really appreciate for your time and also for coming in and getting to learn. So on the announcement is that our next week we are going to be on session 4. We are going from 7 to 8 same time. I welcome you all for that session. I have sent the on the as I join the next meeting. I think I join the meeting. Have a nice time.
All right, thank you so much. See you at the East African Women.
Yeah, so kindly make sure you fill them. I'll be resending the